Our next witness is Keith Hall, President and CEO of the National Association for the Self-Employed. He's a certified public accountant and has provided consulting and tax services to small businesses for over 20 years. Thank you for testifying this morning, and you may begin. Thank you, Mr. Hall.
Thank you. Chairman Bratt, Ranking Member Evan, thanks again for the chance to be here to represent small business. More specifically, I'm here to represent over 30 million self-employed and micro business owners, big part of our economy. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but over 70% of all new jobs, half of all the employees in this country, 99% of all businesses are small businesses. I see it as my job to help those small businesses be more successful, and I think that's the goal of this committee as well. I also believe that the primary asset all those small businesses have is their time. Now, throughout the long debate over tax reform, we only ask for two things. We ask that the proposals be simple and that they be fair. And as we talk about occupational licensing, I think those are the same two parameters to focus on, simple and fair. And anticipating this meeting today, we surveyed our members, and we found that 68% of our members say that they are encumbered in their success because of occupational licensing. That's a big number. Now, we've each referred to the license to work issued by the Institute of Justice that noted the dramatic increase in the number of licenses that there are today, and I think that's very important. But to me, the scary part is how many Americans out there chose not to go into a new profession or chose not to start a new business just because of the licensing. And that's something we can't validate by a survey. That's really scaring. I think the concerns of our members are threefold. One, the cost of licensing, both money and time. Two, the inconsistency of licensing requirements from state to state and city to city. And then three, the impact of those two on low-income and less advantaged members of our community. I think those are very important. I think the first and most important step is increasing awareness and support, making this known. The fact that we're here today talking about this is a great first step. We strongly support the efforts of the FTC and what they are working on through the Economic Liberty Task Force. They've honed in on a number of specific occupations to promote uniformity and reciprocity state to state. I think encouraging that states providing uniformity in licensing, allowing the transition of workers from state to state is very critical. I think that's particularly important to our veterans and their spouses, as Mr. Deedley kind of referred to. I mentioned earlier that I'm here representing 30 million micro business owners. That number is expected to be 50 million by 2025. To put that in perspective, that's roughly 1/3 of all the tax returns filed in this country will have a Schedule C attached to it as part of the income for those families. One of the reasons for that growth is growth in technology. As technology has made the world smaller, small business owners find themselves expanding their community, not just in their locality, but throughout the state, many cases multiple states, and even throughout the world. I think it's inevitable that that trend is going to continue. Expanding that nature of our communities shouldn't be something that is restricted by occupational licensing. Now, I hate pointing out issues without offering some solutions, so I think there's three things that we should focus on. One, we can support and amplify the FTC's Economic Liberty Task Force. I think that's through unique funding opportunities. I think that's a critical first step. Two, formally encourage trade associations and other organizations to review their licensing based on removing the barrier to entry. And then third, find some way to support scholarship programs through associations that can provide some financial assistance for some of those entries, particularly to the more disadvantaged Americans that we have. Now, I'm not here to ask Congress to enact a new law eliminating licensing, because obviously licensing is still important. We want to make sure that the professionals we rely on provide quality services to us. But I am asking that we as a committee, we as association leaders, use our influence to make sure that this issue is evaluated based on what it is, which is a barrier to economic growth. I think a vast majority of small businesses only want two things, and that is it to be simple and for it to be fair. And if we can figure out a way to do that, As always, small business owners will take care of the rest. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and thanks for holding the hearing today.
All right.